Hey, this is Susan Ragsdale with Right Creations Group, and I am thrilled to have with me my friend Linda Ragsdale. And I've asked her to share something about herself that is how she's wired, in my opinion. I have a pet nickname for Linda that I'm going to share. I call her Flipper, and she's listed in my phone as Flipper because she is one of a few people that I know who are really good at reframing and flipping situations to look and hold on to the possibilities and what's good instead of being overwhelmed by the horrible. So I want Linda to teach all of us a few of her ideas for how do you flip things. If you can't, maybe you just go, it's just who I am, Susan.
So I'm going to give a little bit of background because I've had, some very different challenges in my life than most people have had. And one of them was being a survivor after being, severely wounded in the 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks, and lifting my head up after the terrorists went through the restaurant and came table by table. And when you see the darkest part of humanity playing out in front of you, when you wake up in a post-apocalyptic room, when you yourself are now carrying, my wound is almost 3 feet through my body, or a third of my body. So how do we face something like that, which is, not what you normally do, but what do you look at? And it comes from one simple question you ask yourself, which is, what's the gem? What do I need to take away from this? What is it? Right? So in the case of that, is there was so much hate that responding to that hate with hate would do nothing but increase hate. And so for me, it was, I had to bring love. And how do I bring love? How do I bring love to myself for what I saw and healing and doing? And what do I bring out of that world to say, we need to sit, we need to talk, we need to see things differently. We need to put a different voice to it than, putting a gun in a child's hand. And we need to make choices that will help people choose something differently. So in that case, what do I take away? Well, I'm not going to take away the hate. I'm not going to take away what I saw. I'm not going to keep that with me. That is trash. The treasure is, how do I help everyone see with love, speak with love, and make choices with love? So ask yourself, what do I take away?
So let me pause there, because you have absolutely been through something that most people have not. And
Gratefully.
you have, yes, and you have come through it well, but I'm sure at the time it was extremely challenging. And I'm thinking, if I had been shot by someone, my first thought is not going to be, well, I'm going to be grateful I'm alive, but my first thoughts are not going to be about what can I take from this that's good. I'm going to have to face my own anger, my own, why did this happen to me? My own resentment. There's going to be a lot of emotions, like we were talking about in our other video when we were talking about the brainstorm and how you transform things. There's going to be all these emotions warring out. And so I already know from us having that chat that we can scribble it out. But I think it's hard for a lot of people to deal with those initial feelings and their initial ego response of maybe wanting justice or whatever. So if you can say a little more, and maybe it is as simple for you as asking the right question.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, asking the right question that puts you on a positive moving path. But I was wondering if there was a little more there.
No, I think that's really the idea to this, because you will feel those emotions. It's human too. Mm-hmm. And the question is, why invest in the ones that put you into this constant state of anger? Why did this happen to me? This is so unfair. My friends were shot in front of me. Why did they die? Right? That does you no good. That gets you nowhere. What do you take away from that? Nothing.
Mhm.
You take away the gifts that those people gave to you in their lives. You keep them alive by taking the best of them forward. That's what you do. So you always ask that. So when you ask that question from the very beginning, you will limit some of those polar, right,
Right, right.
flip-flopping. What if I had jumped that guy? What if I had, what if I had attacked the, right? You do go through this. Don't think that way. It's a meditator's mind. That
Mhm.
thought comes in, not a good one. Thank you for coming. You're not useful, right? That you literally learn to train your mind to say, I need to sit with this. So this was, they came with anger. And I saw the shooter before he shot me, and he was a young kid. So as a teacher, right, that immediately put me in a mother, you're my child. Why did you have to come to speak to me with a gun? I took ownership in a different way. Right? Why aren't we sitting at the same table having a dinner together? So my experience has been different because at an early age, I was always taught, look for the treasure. So that's what we have to start doing, is introducing, yes, you're going to feel these emotions, feel them, not worth my time. It's not going to do this. If I play the what if game, never a good game. You never win. So,
Sure.
and it can't happen. It's in the past. It's happened. You can't change it. What if doesn't exist. What if becomes a futile game of trying to change something that no longer exists, and the game that you're doing makes it exist in a time frame that you are now losing present time.
Mhm.
So what keeps you present? What is the gem? What is the takeaway? Always, even, right? So let's put it in a different perspective, something, more realistic. And sometimes this is where we also learn something different. I teach peace.
Mhm.
Am I peaceful all the time? Heck no, right? And I lose it more so every time when I'm driving in a car,
Ah.
right? Well, not right for you, but it is for me. So I actually have a glass heart that I hang on my rear view mirror that reminds me that I have no idea what's going on in the car next to me. I have no idea if, they're like me. I get scared when I don't know where I'm going. If you're listening to GPS and the GPS has just turned you to exit and there's 8 lanes, you can't do it, but you don't want to get lost. So I might have gotten cut off by someone who's just as frightened as I am of being lost. And someone could be singing their favorite song, which I'm known to do very loudly in my car. And sometimes when you hit those high notes, you sort of go into a different world and, oh my gosh, I've got to exit. Maybe they're as goofy as I am. Maybe they're as, a singer wannabe as I am. And maybe they've just gotten the worst news and they're heading off to someone they love in the hospital, right?
Right.
Your mind is not there. You want to get there. And so you could be distracted. I don't know what's going on in that car. To hold emotional space for that. But I was late one time and I was rushing off and the lady in front of me didn't go through the light. There was no one in front. She didn't take the left-hand turn. Now we're going to have to wait 5 cycles to get through. And I did this, right? And in her rear view mirror, she saw me doing this. And so she immediately started, right? So here's 2 people who've never met, never understood, and she's just raging back at me. And, here I am. What did I do? Not her fault. I'm late. I've just upset this poor woman. I immediately said, gosh, if I'd done that to my mother, what if she's older? What if she doesn't, what if she has vision problems? What if, the what if game here is allowing me to feel compassion for whatever is happening in this car in front of me. And so I started sending her the heart symbol, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I was trying to show as much as possible through my body language that I was so sorry. That, right? Hands up. I surrender. I'm so sorry. And no, she was not going to let me go. I had started her on fire and it wasn't going to, right? And she purposely, like someone in my right, so when the light turned green to turn, she purposely paused. And I get that, right? I can't change what that person is doing. I can try,
Mm.
and I can't change. And that's the other part of this flipper idea that has to deal with people who are hurting around you that you want to help, that you want to do this. How do we change the word hopeless and helpless into helpful and hopeful? And sometimes that is learning that we just have to be there. We just have to be there. I owned up to what I did. I tried to ask for right as much as possible in two
Right.
different cars, but there was nothing I could do. Nothing I could do. I can't stop her from being angry. I can't stop her from getting on a phone call and, yelling and starting up a fire with 10 of her friends about the crazy lady behind her. And the ownership to that was me, because I let the idea, so what if I'm 2 minutes late?
Yeah.
That's so human. I can call somebody and say I'm running late. So what if I get, to the store 5 minutes later than I wanted to? It's an arbitrary time set. You let these things go. And as you start to learn what you have put in front of you that you can let go to, the more you get to see the gem. The more you get to see that the constraints that you put there are sometimes the things that won't let you see the treasure. And that's what you learn, is to clear your vision so that you see that.
And part of what I heard you saying and all of that is to remember it's not all about me. There are other people in the world. And so when we remember, oh, this may be going on for that other person in the car, or this may be going on, what led to this person's actions to doing this or that, putting yourself in their shoes, remembering it's not all about me, and it's both and.
Right?
And
In
grace
this
is for
shared
both and.
space, you have 1,000 emotions, so do I.
Yeah.
And we don't have to have them collide. And like I said, when we do, how do we repair that? How do we do it? But at the other point, there is a point where there was nothing else I could do. Decide, and I think she would have driven off into traffic. If I had, unlocked my car and run up to her window, I'm not so sure she would have received that as well.
Yeah.
As a good thing. But I tried as much as possible. And that's the thing. Sometimes you realize that as much as you try to do something, because sometimes the greatest thing you can learn from an experience is, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Well, to kind of wrap this up, because I wanted to keep this one
Yeah.
a little bit short, it's just to remind folks, because I see this all the time in talking to friends on social media, all of that. In 2020, you have to look at, how can I flip the situation where I am? So maybe you're still quarantining and staying at home a whole lot, and it's getting frustrating. Well, what are the opportunities in being at home? Do you get to plant those sunflowers that you haven't gotten to plant before? Are you building a shed for the backyard? Are you going through closets and cleaning out closets and getting organized? Are you dreaming about new possibilities and new careers? There's many, many ways that you could flip things by going, here's where I am. What's the gem? What's the possibility?
Right. And you know what I'm going to add to that, because all of those were activities. I'm going to ask you,
Yes.
how much have you learned how to sit and watch the sunset? And the beauty of the sunset, though, is that it is much more dramatic after the sun has actually disappeared. The color changes as it really turns into that night sky, as those colors. It is beautiful. How long has it been since you've learned to sit with silence? That busyness is not always achievements, right? That
Right.
being busy does not always bring the outcome. And I don't mean to
Oh
switch that,
no,
but also the balance to that is it, quarantine is a great time to have learned chill.
and I would add to that, it's a great time to make sure that you are friends with yourself. You are okay to be with yourself and okay with your own company. Because as Linda was saying, we could get lost in busyness. We could get lost in schedules that have us going. And then when you take it all back, you're back to you. So how can you make the most of the time with you? Through meditation, through sitting. My sunflowers that I planted wasn't just an activity. It was a lesson, like, the sunset and the sunrise of I am learning so much about being just by watching my flowers. And I have to say, I've gone from talking to them every morning when I go out to encourage them to lately I go out and I'm not talking because I'm listening, which that's a whole other thing.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. That actually sounds like I was just reading someone and it was this beautiful post of the ocean is a poem without words. Just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the one thing. How much are we listening? Especially when you're seeing someone, right? I wrote a post about when you're seeing something and your response to it is far more fiery, and then how do you turn it around so that you can actually inspire someone to see something differently? It's not about responding that way. It's how it is. And when do you really just listen and think of where that person is coming from and what it is that you do? And sometimes it's just being there. Sometimes it's just, I hear you.
Yeah. I hope you liked this chat about reframing and flipping and even being. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with other wise thoughts with Linda and Susan. Actually, so you keep up with strategies and ideas and activities.
What's so funny? You said wise, and I was thinking of the letter Y. Why?
That is absolutely fitting. Anyway, have a great day. Thank you, Linda.
Bye. Thank you for having me.